Did you know that all 4 1 seeds advanced to this year's Final Four out in San Antonio? The last time that happened, believe it or not, was in 2008, and it also happened in San Antonio. However, this year's class, extremely stacked when it comes to players to watch, matchups to watch. There's a lot of things that we want to point your attention to. And to do so, let's get an early look at all the madness as we welcome in our Chip Patterson. We've also got Mackenzie Brooks joining us. We're going to get into some of the matchups with these Final Four games, some things to watch. So let's start with that Florida versus Auburn game. Again, all these are 1 seeds, so I'm not going to waste time saying 1 versus 1 here. Chip, your focus in this game between Florida and Alabama, or Florida and Auburn rather, are the bigs in this matchup. Rebounding going to be the key game changer here. So tell us a little bit more about what excites you when it comes to Johni Broome versus Ruben Chinelu, maybe?
Yeah, listen, big dogs only in this Final Four, and we're going to focus on the bigs in the early matchup because what we've got is a spot that impacts both their individual skills but also their team strengths and team weaknesses. So Ruben Chinelu is one of the best offensive rebounders in the entire country, and Florida as a team really relies on offensive rebounding. Key number right here, 37% offensive rebounding percentage. When they rebound 37% or better of their misses, they are 20-1 this season. They fall below that line. That's the upset loss to Georgia. That's the upset loss to Missouri. And that is the 64-44 pounding that they took at the hands of Tennessee. So for Florida, yeah, they're good at outside shooting, but being able to clean up on the glass is key. And Johni Broome, who is one of the best players in the entire country, is also one of the best defensive rebounders individually. But this is the key. Auburn, as a team, not a great defensive rebounding team. So this is where it's got to be Broome limiting Florida to just 1 attempt. This has got to be Broome letting you know who's who and what's what down low. Because if they give up that advantage that they have with one of the best big men in the entire country, well, then I think Florida's going to be able to eat up the glass, and that's going to give them a better chance to win.
The funny part is, like, Chinelu definitely a very, very big part of this, but what Florida has going for them is they got 3 big hosses, right? Like, this isn't just his game to play. You have 3 guys you can throw in there that accumulate for a full-time center who's on the court the entire time. Like, we have all 3 of those Florida centers projected for 13 rebounds while Broome's only 10, and it really feels like Broome versus the world here. And you have Hanglogden, who literally, he's just going in to rough up Broome. Like, the thing with Florida is they have 15 fouls to give between the 3 of them, and Broome has to be careful here. So just the depth of the Florida bigs and the Florida centers that you're going to see, I mean, the 3 of them combined have the same, if not better, rebound rate than you're going to see from Broome. So that is where, in our model, like the offensive rebounds, specifically and rebounds in general, that's where Florida's winning this battle, and that's why we ultimately have Florida winning the game.
Chip, really quick, I want to follow because Bruce Pearl told us that Johni Broome did not practice yesterday or today dealing with that elbow injury. How much does that impact sort of the numbers that you're watching when it comes to Broome?
Yeah, I think it's significant. Not that I don't think he's going to be out there. I think he is. Not that I don't think he's going to be giving it his all. I think he will. But let the big man fall, big tree fall hard, and he bangs that elbow again. If it leads to any kind of discomfort that impacts his ability to score, his ability to secure the ball, then that is going to be entirely game-changing. So it doesn't feel like anything that matters before tip-off, but it is something that will set off red alert sirens if he has any further injury in the game.
That one getting underway at 6:09 Eastern on Saturday. The other one, of course, coming courtesy of Houston and Duke. We know that the defense will shine in this one, right? Houston is known for their defense. We just saw Duke lock up Alabama in that last game. But, Chip, the key statistic you're following here is blocks and 2-point percentage, particularly when it comes to Kaman Malawach and some other guys as well. Walk us through what you're watching there in that matchup.
Yeah, this is one of the great things that Houston has been able to do is that even though they trot out 6'8", 6'7", and 6'6", their wingspans are 7'4", 7'5", and beyond. And that is how a team that has starting big men under 6'10" end up being one of the best shot blocking teams in the entire country. That is how a Houston team that doesn't have anybody above 6'10" in the rotation ends up going out and getting you some of the best rebounding efforts that we saw in the Big 12 all season long. but they ain't got to play many like Khaman Maluach. And I think that his presence at the rim and to be able to deny any attempts at the glass, to be able to clean things up when it comes to rebounding, 2-point percentage offense and defense, that is slamming home dunks, that is slamming home putbacks, and that is blocking shots at the rim all season long. JoJo Tugler, Javier Francis, these players who are long and athletic have been able to overcome so much. But, man, they have not had to face many forces down low like what Duke has with Maluach. So, yeah, who's going to be able to get more blocks and who's going to be able to have the higher percentage of shots converted and denied closer to the rim, I think is a huge factor. Because if you do that otherwise, it's just a three-point shootout, and that's not going to be good for either team.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head here. I think Maluach in general is such an X factor in this game. His 2-point percentage in general, which is absolutely absurd, what you just saw there, because it is 4 dunks and 4 lobs a game, which is, rock on, get your points the way you want to get them. But how do you stop that? Even though they have 2 great centers who accumulate for 1 full-time center, they're still barely out-rebounding Maluach here. And that's so hard to stop. And he's also not putting up a ton of field goal attempts per game. He needs to not get in foul trouble. Him getting in foul trouble could be the downfall of this Duke team. So I know Cooper flagged this, Cooper flagged that, but Maluach staying out of foul trouble, being competitive, making those offensive putbacks that Houston always has and finds easy, making them not so easy, and we do think it will be quite a battle down low.
We got a bonus play for you, Chip, because we know that you are one of our college basketball sickos here. We got to ask you about Cooper Flagg and Duke. It's interesting when you look at this matchup against a guy like, let's say, Juwan Roberts, maybe when it comes to the experience. You've got a guy who's played 4 NCAA tournament games versus a guy who's playing his 17th on deck here in this matchup. What's going to be the matchup what's going to be the thing you're watching in this matchup between those two guys?
I know we're supposed to focus on math and numbers, but I need vibes, y'all. We got to look at the vibes here. So, Juwan Roberts, 5th-year senior, all 5 of those years with Kelvin Sampson at Houston. We see a lot of 5th-year seniors, but not a lot of players who spend all those years at the same time. You mentioned this will be Roberts' 17th NCAA tournament game where he has appeared. He's been on the active roster for even more than that with all the success that Houston has had in the NCAA tournament. And I just wonder if Roberts, somebody who will go out to the perimeter and be one of the primary defenders in a pick and roll, I wonder if he uses some of that experience. He uses some of that old man strength. He uses some of the wisdom that he's gotten along the ways to maybe get the better of the #1 pick in the 2025 NBA draft. Because that's the thing about Cooper Flagg in this matchup. He's going to be everywhere. They let him bring the ball up the floor. They let him operate down low. They let him start on the wing. But as you saw here against Alabama, a couple of turnovers, things got a little bit loose. Can this Houston team, with Juwan Roberts leading the way, be able to use some of that experience, some of that NCAA tournament and Final Four experience to close what is absolutely a talent gap with our now announced CBS Sports National Player of the Year?
Yeah, I think the thing with Cooper Flagg is sometimes when his 3-point percentage isn't really great, he starts panicking, and then the turnovers just fumble over. You mentioned that Alabama game, definitely not a great showing for him. While I don't think Roberts, steal numbers will necessarily directly correlate to the turnovers for Cooper Flagg, Cooper Flagg does need to keep this a clean game, and 100% Roberts will limit his offensive production. It's about, can Duke handle that, right? Do they have a game plan for when Cooper Flagg can't be an offensive juggernaut and a defensive juggernaut here? So I think as long as Duke as a team is mentally prepared for what Roberts is going to do to Flagg, it's about the vibes of that team at that point. Do they know how to use him in different ways?
Well, and even if Cooper Flagg doesn't have the vibes, his teammate Con Kneppel will as well. He's been hooping out there at all cylinders. There's just a lot of vibes on the Duke roster right now.